Welcome back to another lesson of Microsoft Excel. In this lesson, we are going to be using the if function with very simple, or let's say basic functions. Now you've gone through these lessons of sum and then average, count, and minimum, maximum. What we're going to do is add up if with this specific function, okay? Now what we're going to do is start off with the sum if and then sum if s. So let's start off with the sum if. Now the first thing you're going to do is need a range of data like this. Now what I'm going to do is going to be clicking on the sum if box and I'm going to type in equal sum if. And you can see sum if has appeared over here. I'm going to double click on it and then you'll be able to select the range criteria and the sum range. Now how does that work? Now first off, you have to fix in the specific range of data. So in the range of data, which data do you want? Let's say from there, I'm going to do is select the name of the cities because I'm going to need the name of cities that contain the name of brand and how many units were sold. So first thing I'm going to do is going to be selecting the number of cities that are over here. Okay. Or let's say I'm going to do is select on it, select this. Okay. I'm going to put in a comma. And now which city or the value of which city do you want? Let's say I need the values of Los Angeles. So first thing you're going to do is select any of the cell that contains your need of data. Let's say I'm going to select on this cell. You can see Los Angeles. I'm going to put in another comma and then which brand or what data do you want? And which data do you want it to be added up and given the exact result? Now, just like I said, I need the amount of units sold for that specific city. Now what I'm going to do is going to be clicking on this value, which is going to be our units sold. Now I'm going to do is close off the parentheses, hit on enter, and you can see the number of units sold for Los Angeles. But now what if you say that you want a specific brand or a specific object to be sold and you want that object or how many units were sold for that specific object, okay? Now, for that reason, you have to use the sum if function. Now, you might think that it is a bit complex, but it actually is not. Another thing you have to keep one thing in mind that if you cannot like put in your values like this, make sure to click on this effects over here and it will open up the function argument. So let's just try the same thing from over here. I'm gonna do is cut this off. Now let's just show to you how this works. Now, first off, you're going to do is click on this range because I need the range first. What I'm going to do is select all of the cities or all of the range or column that contain the name of the cities. You can see A1 to A24. Now I'm going to do is select the criteria. Now the criteria is going to be the specific city, okay? Because I'm going to need the unit sold for that specific city. Now, if you don't want to use a specific cell, you can also put in the keyword. Let's say just like I said, you can put in your keyword. Let's say, make sure to put in double quotation. Let's say I'm going to type in Los Angeles. And I'm going to put in double quotation at the end too. And after you're done, make sure to select the sum range. And obviously make sure that in the sum range, it's a numerical value because if it is alphabetical, it might not work and also sometimes show you an error. Okay. Then I'm going to do is select all of the units sold and hit on enter, press on OK. And even before pressing on OK, you can see the result, which is 130,450 as my answer. Press on OK, and there we go. We have our result. Now, even if you use the fill header, it's going to give you the results of the other ones, okay, which is going to be Vegas and NYC. But we don't want that. We want the specific city. Now, if you want to change it, you can also change it to NYC. Okay, I'm just going to do is type in NYC, hit on enter, and it will give you the total results of NYC. We can do the same thing with Vegas. Let's just try in Vegas, double quotation, type in Vegas, hit on enter, and that is the total amount of units sold for Vegas. Now, another thing you have to keep one thing in mind that you can use the wildcard inside of it. Now, how to use that? So first thing I'm going to do is cut off everything except for the S. Now, when you want to use the wildcard, you have to put in the asterisk symbol. Now, I put in the asterisk symbol. Now, what it will do is scan up all of the data inside of that range and whatever data it has ending with an S and then give you the exact result. Hit on enter and you can see that is the total. Okay, that is the total of, let's say, Los Angeles and Vegas because both of them has the S at the end. Okay, so now you know how you will be able to to use the SUMIF function in Microsoft Excel. Now, what if you want the exact brand being sold and you want the exact amount of the units sold? Now, how are you going to do that? Obviously, this time you have to use SUMIFS because it's going to deal with a lot of arguments and a lot of criteria and a lot of data, which cannot be done by using SUMIF. So let's start off by typing in SUMIFS, open up the parentheses, and now you're going to start off with the sum range. So the sum range is the units sold. So I'm going to select all of the units sold, put in a comma, and which is going to be the criteria range 1. Now in our criteria range 1, we're going to put in the cities, okay? Now I'm going to do is select all of the cities or the range of data which we have here on A, which is the city. Now I'm going to put in another comma, which is going to be our criteria 1. For which city do you want the exact value from? So let's say I'm going to do is use Los Angeles again. Now, after you put in that specific value, I'm going to put in another comma. And now, what data, or let's say what brand do you want to seek out for? Let's say I want the specific values, how many units are being sold in Los Angeles and how many Fanta is being sold there. So I'm going to click on Fanta, okay, which is going to be our B2 cell. And after you're done, what you're going to do is put in another comma, and then you can put in criteria 2. Now in our criteria 2, we can put in the specific brand at the same time. Okay. I'm going to do is cut this one off, and then I'm going to do select the whole cell. So I'm going to cut this off, select the whole column instead. And after you're done, you'll be able to select the criteria 2, put in another comma, and we're going to put in the criteria. Let's say I want Fanta, just like I said. And after you're done, what you're going to do is close off the parentheses. Hit on enter, and you can see this is the value of that specific brand being sold in Los Angeles. Now, to make it a bit more easier, we're going to open up this, okay? And here in the functions argument, you will be able to see what amount or what data I've put in that specific function, okay? Now, we're going to do it again and show it to you. Let's cut this off. Cut this one off too. Okay. First off, we're going to start off with the sum range. Now in our sum range, we're going to put in our units sold. There we go. And our criteria range, we're going to put in the city. Select the whole cities. Now I'm going to put in criteria 1. So as we already did for Los Angeles, let's try for Vegas. Click on Vegas. And then I'm going to put in criteria 2. Select the number of brands or the whole data of brands. And now what data do you want? Let's say how many units of Sprite has been sold in Vegas. Click on Sprite or any of the cells that you need and press on OK. And there you go. You already have the answer, which is 19,000. Press on OK and it will give you that specific data. Now you can also change that specific value according to your desire. Let's say how many Diet Cokes are being sold there. Hit on enter. Only 9,000 are being sold in Vegas. So now you know how the SUMIF function or the SUMIFS function works in Microsoft Excel. Now there is also an addition that you can also get results of different cities at the same time and different brands at the same time. Now what are we going to do with it? Now you're going to click on this, and instead of the specific cell, what I'm going to do is I need the number of Diet Coke and also Sprite and how many units are being sold in Vegas. So I'm going to select or increase this value over here. Let's say B3 and let's say B4. Hit on enter and you can see both of the values are over here. Now, if you want to sum those up, then you have to put in another thing, okay? What you're going to do is select on that specific cell. Then you're going to do is put in the sum before it, okay? I'm going to type in sum, S-U-M, open this parentheses up. And also close the parentheses, hit on enter, and there we go. We have both of the values together. Now we are done with SUMIF and SUMIFS. Let's start off with the average if. Now how does that work? I'm going to type in equal average if. Now you have to select the range. So the range is going to be this specific cell. Put in a comma and then put in your criteria. What criteria do you want? Let's say I'm going to type in this. Now you can select the average range. Now select whatever average range you want. If you can't do it, just go over here. Now you can select whichever cell you want. Let's say I want this value, or maybe this value. And it will find out your average if for that specific value which you are working on, or whichever one you want. Let's say I want the average value or the average if of 10,000. So it's going to be 10,750. Hit on OK, and there we go. You have your answer. Now, it doesn't work the same way it does on average if. Well, average if s is a bit more, let's say, complicated. Now, let's try average if s. I'm going to type in equal. You can go off the functions over here if you can't find it. I'm going to type in average if s. Hit on that. OK. What we're going to do is start off with our average range. Now, you can see that I have put in another value over here. Now, first thing you're going to do is select the unit sold. I'm going to select on this. I'm going to select on criteria range 1. Now, what is going to be our criteria range 1? In our criteria range 1, we're going to find out the brands which are being sold. Click on that. Now, we're going to do is select up our criteria, which you can see over here, which is going to be this specific. Okay. I'm going to do is, let's say I want the value for Fanta. I'm going to do is go off to criteria range 2. I'm going to do select all of these cities. Now, from this criteria range 2, I'm going to select NYC and how many sales are being sold to and from NYC. I'm going to press on OK, and there we go. The average if is, or let's say the result is going to be 12,500 being sold, or that is the average units being sold in New York City. So now you know how the average if s function also works in Microsoft Excel. Now let's learn about how we can use our count if and count if s function in Microsoft Excel. Now, what we're going to do is going to be going on count if. Now, you know already how the count function works. It basically finds out the number of cells being used and the active cells. But if you add it up with count if, you have to select this range of data. Let's say I'm going to do select the units being sold. I'm going to put in a comma, and I have to put in the criteria. Now, I want the values that are going to be greater than 9,000. Okay, so you have to put in double quotation. Let's say it is going to be greater than 9,000. Okay, and it's going to give me that exact number. Close the parentheses. Make sure to put in the double quotation. I'm going to click on this, close it off, hit on enter, and you can see 12 of them are greater than 9,000. Okay, now let's go off to count if s. If you want two values, let's say I want only the values that are greater than 9,000 and that only belongs to Diet Coke, or maybe only belongs to Powerade. Now let's see how many values are there. Type in equal count if s. Criteria range 1. I'm going to do is select the criteria range first. Select the cell. I want the criteria now. Now let's say I'm going to do is type in 9,000. Select this. Now in criteria range 2, I'm going to do select the brands. And in the brands, I only want Powerade. I'm going to do press on OK. Now only two values belong to Powerade that is higher than 9,000. And the other ones may be lesser than 9,000 or, close to 9,000. So it's not going to work. You can also type in equal, and also that's like totally up to you. Even if you put in different values, let's say I'm going to do is instead of Powerade, I also want the Sunny water. Let's say I'm going to do is we have it on B6. I want also B7. So I'm going to do is B7. Hit on enter, and you can see 2 and still 0. And there we go. We have our answer. So that is it for this count if and count if s function. Now let's go off to minimum and maximum if functions. Let's try this out over here. Equal minimum ifs. Now it's going to search up for the minimum range. Okay, you can see minimum range. I'm going to select the specific cell. You have to put in the criteria range 1. Let's say what is going to belong in the criteria range 1. Now what I'm going to do is, let's say instead of that, I'm going to do is remove this. Now I want a specific value from a specific city. First I'm going to do is go off the criteria 1, and I'm going to select any of these cells. There we go. We already have it. And I'm going to do select the criteria range. And now I want the minimum range. Okay. Now what minimum range do I want? Let's say I want the Fantas or all of them being sold over here. So you can see still the value is 0. Why is it 0? Because there are none selected to this specific city, or the Fanta belonging to that specific city. You're going to need that specific, let's say, I'm going to just cut this off. Let's say I'm going to select this value, and there we go. We have our specific value. Press on OK, and that is the minimum value of that specific city and the unit sold. We're going to do the same thing with maximum if, max if s. Just cut this off. Forgot to add in our equal max if s. What I'm going to do is go off to this function arguments. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go off to criteria 1. And I'm going to do is select the specific city, let's say NYC. To select all of the cities. And from here, I want the maximum range from the units sold. There we go. The maximum for NYC is going to be 12,500. So that is our answer. So hope you learned everything in this lesson of these average functions, or let's say our if functions and ifs function with the basic functions in Microsoft Excel. If you didn't understand a part, please let us know and we'll guide you through the whole process. And thank you for watching this video from the beginning to the end.